Now, the last time we beat Blackpool in the FA Cup fourth round was back in 1976, and we all know what happened after that. So, Glenn, another win in the Cup, but it was quite hard to watch, wasn't it?
Nah, it was an awesome performance. No, it was. First half wasn't too bad. It was quite a slow-paced game. I think Blackpool were sort of happy for us to have the ball in the first half, and we're not used to that, obviously. So it was a little bit. It was just a little bit slow. We scored the goal from the free kick, courtesy of the wall jumping out the way, which I didn't realise at the time. You learn that when you first start playing football. You stand there, and if the ball hits you, it hits you. So I quite liked Mick McCarthy's kind of comical response to the fact that one of his players jumped out of the way. So 1-0 up half time, but I thought we controlled it pretty well. And then at half time, we seemed to make some changes in midfield, and Elyounoussi and Aribo seemed to push forward. And as a result, we just lost control in midfield. Scored the second, probably a little bit against the run of play. It was just a good, little bit of play between Perro and Sekou Mara. And once they got back to 2-1 through our usual all stand and watch defending, it kind of went to bits a little bit. And we didn't really do anything to wrestle back control of that midfield, kept giving the ball away. And in the end, though Blackpool didn't really have, a chance when it was 2-1, we had to survive the corners with the goalkeeper up in the last sort of couple of minutes. And, so it was a bit edgy at the end, and we could have ended up with a replay that no one wanted. But I guess the bottom line is it's a cup game. We've played, we've rested a load of players. We've got over the line. And Nathan Jones managed to say something dumb in the interview again, just for a change. So all in all, I guess the end justified the means just about.
Yeah. Steve, the first team aren't exactly flying or gelling. So were we surprised that with the changes, it took a while to gel yesterday and we didn't see a convincing win?
Not hugely. I think that was kind of pretty much what we expected. That a load of guys who have been kind of sat picking splinters for the vast majority of the last couple of months have then been thrown into action, and they're not quite up to speed. But I thought we were all right in patches. We moved the ball and into play quite nicely. I thought Aribo was a lot better playing from deep, which I don't think I was quite expecting to see.
Yeah.
Either him being deep or looking better playing back there. But yeah, it was. I mean, same old, in that we get up and sort of in and around the penalty area, and we don't really know what. Don't really quite have the confidence, or it's either a lack of confidence or basically everybody having a huge dereliction of duty, in that nobody wants to kind of put their hand up and say, right, I'll do this. And so you end up passing it off to someone else and overplaying it, and eventually a defender sticks a toe in and the ball goes away. And it's immensely frustrating. But fortunately, set pieces are a thing, and therefore you're allowed to score without a defender putting in a tackle. And of course, I mean, as Glenn said, the wall moving out of the way was quite handy, as was the keeper taking a step in the wrong direction. Which, I mean, we see that a hell of a lot. It's mental. Like the wall's literally there to kind of block off the side that you're taking that step towards. So yeah, I mean, while the wall's done him no favours, I don't think the keeper covered himself in any glory either. Second half, yeah, we got disjointed, and it was frustrating. Blackpool had that little sort of spell of 5 or 10 minutes where obviously had that great chance where they went clean through, and the guys tried to be really cocky and lob it over the keeper. And Caballero's pulled off a good save, and then
he had a great game, I thought.
And then he was good. His kicking was a little bit ropey, but other than that,
used to that.
Yeah, I mean it's not something we're not used to with various keepers down the years. I remember the volley of abuse that Paul Jones used to get every time he shanked a goal kick into the East Stand at the Dell. So yeah, that's nothing new. But yeah, it was frustrating. Walcott obviously had that chance towards the end to make it safe. Where, I mean, I guess the sort of as the ended with the ball landing on the roof of the net and not in the back of the net, you kind of say, well, he probably should have passed it. But I think he was probably within his rights to take a shot from there. But yeah, as Glenn said, they didn't. I don't remember Caballero having a proper save to make after they got one back. So yeah, I think we were, a little bit harem scarum in terms of numbers in the penalty area. I think we kind of dealt with it okay. I mean, Blackpool aren't great, are they, as their league position suggests? So
No.
I think even though we're obviously bottom of the league, there is still a huge gulf between the divisions. So you would expect us to be able to kind of keep them at arm's length, which I think, to be honest, we mostly did.
It's strange because normally it's late in the second half that the Premier League side tends to start to show their dominance and show their fitness. And Alfie, that didn't seem to happen for us. It was the opposite. But I guess, we just needed to win. We're in the draw for the next round. We did that. Should we be picking over it too much, or should we just be celebrating the fact we got a win and we're into the next round?
Well, the beauty is that there's another massive game in 48 hours, so you can move on pretty quickly. But I think you mentioned, the loss of control in the last sort of 25 minutes, 20 minutes of the game was probably a symptom of the fact that there were 8 changes, and Nathan Jones did want to use his squad, and he was able to. So I think at that point it was just a case of get the players off who you need for Tuesday. Just keep them on the bench, or in James Ward-Prowse not even in the squad, and try and get through the game and get a win. So I was pretty happy with that ultimately. The second half was a tough watch. I was a little bit nervous, but it was a good experience for them, and I thought that was absolutely fine. We saw a few guys back. Bella-Kotchap, I think he might struggle to find his way back into the first team, to be fair. Looks a little bit, not lightweight because it's harsh, but he looks like he feels every tackle quite a lot at the moment. I think he wasn't quite ready. I think even Jones admitted that it was a little bit of a rush to bring him back, but he just had to rest Sally and the other guys that he could, obviously with Bednarek and all those guys cup tied. So I think at the end of the day, you take the win into the 5th round of the tournament, and Nathan Jones's 50% win ratio lives on.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn, one player in particular sending out a message that he should definitely be in the side, and that was probably Roman Perot. I thought had a really good game. A few others sending out some messages, perhaps as to why they're not in the team, or maybe why they should be sent back to Arsenal.
That's a bit of a leading question there. I have to say, I don't quite understand why Roman Perot has found himself out of the team anyway, because he's our only sort of natural left back. And we're going to get onto this with the Newcastle game, which we're going to talk about. But I mean, just briefly here, we got absolutely hammered down that side against Newcastle. You can look at virtually every incident in that game and wonder, would it have been different if we'd have had a proper left back, including the winning goal? But I think Perot had a point to prove, and he, which is what you want to see from players who are playing for the first time in 3 or 4 games or whatever. And he's always been a player that's got stuck in and always given 100%. Sometimes he seems to get a bit lost positionally in the course of games, but he stood out. And what more can you do in a team that doesn't score any goals? To score goals from fullback or be a threat. Okay, one's a free kick, but that second goal was pretty good to continue his run, and he started the move and finished it. So that's great, and for nothing else if nothing else to have him in the team offering some sort of threat going forward is what's needed. So hopefully he's fit enough to be considered, and I hope he plays on Tuesday. I doubt it. I doubt that he will, because I think we'll still go with this hybrid defence thing. But I would certainly be happier with him in the side. And as you say, Maitland-Niles is a strange player. He is so strange. He does some good things, and then he mixes it up with like he's not really there. Like the game's just passing him by. Sometimes he just looks like, this is all too much effort for me. Very, very strange player. It's one of the mysteries to me of modern football that he's still under contract at Arsenal for another 1.5 years. When you consider where they are as a club, It's a strange one. So I can't see him getting sort of like near the team. I think, you know, the signing of the new lad from Luton, that pushes him further down in that position. And I can't see him getting in midfield because Diallo's been playing slightly better as well. So yeah, I mean, others, Sekou Maro, I thought was frustrating. He doesn't get on the ball enough for me. He just seems to, the game passes him by. And my mate Elianusi, every time he tries to pass the ball forward, he just gives the ball away, and I just find that incredibly frustrating. He's good at recycling it, passing it sideways, you know, keeping hold of the ball that way. But as soon as he tries to do anything creative, it just doesn't happen. And I agree with what Steve said about Aribo. I thought Aribo was pretty good in the first half, playing deeper. But as soon as he went further forward, he just wasn't getting on the ball, and he wasn't really sort of like. Looked to me like he kind of got a bit despondent, and like he stopped sort of demanding the ball. In that first half, he was really trying to get on the ball as many times as possible. I was in the Kingsland, so in the first half he was kind of playing sort of on the left hand side, and you could hear him talking to Orsic all the time and making sure he got the ball back from him and all that sort of stuff. But in the second half, he kind of got lost. So I think, you know, with the exception of Perot, I don't think any of the fringe players really put their hand up to play. But you know, I mean, I thought Lavia had a decent game in the main, and Lianco played well at the back. I thought he was very, very solid, and it was usually him who popped up to clear whatever danger there was. So yeah, there were some decent performances out there, but apart from Perot, I don't think Nathan Jones will have learnt anything new.
Alfie, I was going to ask you about Orsic because obviously Nathan Jones came out afterwards and said actually we need a bit more from him. I can't remember what the exact phrase was, but he was kind of saying he needs to adapt a bit more to the Premier League.
Yeah, I just asked him what did he make of his first few appearances. I guess you can't really tell too much about a player this early on, but they bought him to have an immediate impact, so you'd want him to do that, wouldn't you? And he's obviously, he trusts him. He thinks he's a good player because his first start was at Newcastle, and the biggest game of the month, I suppose, depending on how you look at the Premier League. I don't think he'll start again on Tuesday now. I think probably the fact he's played another, was it 67 on the weekend, means he probably won't. But yeah, he just said that he needs to offer a bit more, but he's confident. It was the answer he had to give, really. He said that he'll get there and all this kinds of stuff, and you just have to hope that comes in a few weeks rather than months.
Will's watching on YouTube tonight. He says Mara should be starting in the league, and Tom says Maitland-Niles not good enough. So lazy, the man doesn't want to run. Steve, I think Maitland-Niles, just before we move on to the Newcastle game, kind of divided opinion, because there are a few people I spoke to yesterday said actually he was all right. He did okay. So he's one of those players that a bit Marmite at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're always. I think most of us are probably guilty of this. Once you've kind of made your mind up on a certain player, then you're always looking for. Sorry, Glen. Then you're always kind of, if you've decided they're rubbish, then you're always looking for the downside.
He's playing the Redmond role.
If you like them, then you're always going to look sort of accentuate the positives. But yeah, I mean, the problem is does he even know what his best position is? And the problem is that he's kind of now. Sort of painted himself as this sort of Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades. I'll slot in wherever you need me, gaffer, type thing. And actually, I mean, he's not particularly positionally sound, I don't think, for a fullback. And I mean, you've seen at times. His passing frustrates the hell out of me, because you can see that he can clearly spot a pass. He just then plays it 10 yards to the left far too often, and it's infuriating because you can see he's clearly got a very good football brain, and his reading in the game's quite good. But yeah, just the kind of him reading the game and then telling his body how to kind of respond and do stuff doesn't quite seem to be in sync, and I suspect that's probably just a product of being sort of shunted around different positions at different clubs all the time.
Yeah,
can't be particularly helpful.